Hi and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I'm really mixing up the angles recently, aren't I? Here I am, not in the centre of my sofa. What on earth's going on? You may well have seen my August TBR. David has picked my books that I'm going to read in August for me, kindly. And I will link that video down below if you haven't seen it already. But within those books he picked, spoilers, he managed to pick 3 short story collections. Now, one of which, What She's Having, Stories of Women and Food, was in a series, a collection of books that I think are maybe going to be 5 stars, and I made him pick from that pile of books. But the other 2 that were included are Terminal Boredom by Izumi Suzuki and Whatever Happened to Interracial Love by Kathleen Collins. Just wait for the ambulance to go by. And what I thought I would do now is, because I've just finished the Mermaid of Black Conch, and I need another book to read. So what I thought I would do, because I haven't done this in a while, is sit and do try a short story tag. Normally you do this with 5 books, but I thought I would read the first short story from all of these collections and then decide which one that I'm going to crack on with. So yeah, I guess we'll do this. So I'll start with Whatever Happened to Interracial Love. And this, I believe, has a little foreword in, yeah, by Elizabeth Alexander. And then the first short story, it's a very short one, it's called Exteriors. Oh, it is short. It's barely even a double page. So I think I will start with the foreword and then move on to that. And I'll let you know how I get on. Oh, sit back and get your cup of tea, Lauren. So I've just finished Exteriors, the first short story. Now, as I said, it is, I believe they call this flash fiction, this sort of shortness. Maybe it's shorter than that, I don't know. I enjoyed it. So it's talking about sort of like dressing a life so it looks the way you want it to. They're talking about, so it starts saying, okay, it's a 6th floor walk up, 3 rooms in front, bathroom in the kitchen, roaches on the walls, a cubby hole of a John with a stained glass window. The light, they've got light up the butt. This shocks me that this was written in like the 60s or the 70s, because I can imagine this happening now. She's talking about turning up the light behind, backlighting something to make it look better, which is very sort of like Instagram, is what Instagram is basically. And then after they've talked about making these things look better, she then talks about, no, take it down. She looks too anxious and sad, keep it down. He looks too restless and angry, down some more. She's just trying to please him, it can stay down. She's waiting at the window. Now on second thought, kill it, he won't come in before morning. So it's very, very urgently written. Like the whole thing is basically 2 long paragraphs. But yeah, I enjoyed that. Now, this first story, as I said, is called Exteriors. The second one is called Interiors. So I wonder if it's anything more to do with that. But yeah, as the first one, oh no, it's definitely longer, Interiors. But yeah, I enjoyed that. And yeah, like I said, just shocking that it was written in the 60s or the 70s. The foreword itself goes into a bit more about Kathleen Collins's life. She died in 1988 when she was just 46, and she was a filmmaker and a playwright, and one of her most famous films, I have never even heard of this film, Losing Ground, which was overlooked and forgotten until 2015 when it premiered at the Lincoln Center as part of a series of African-American filmmakers and was hailed as a masterpiece. So that's definitely something I'll be looking into as well. So yeah, first story of that done. Now I'm going to move on to Terminal Boredom by Izumi Suzuki. I believe there's a little foreword of here as well, is there? No, there's not. We just move straight on to the first story. Oh, it's much longer than the other one. So this is called Women and Women, and it's around 35 pages long. So what I might do is get my boyfriend David to make me a cup of tea while I'm reading this. My boyfriend David?
I'm busy.
Oh, doing what?
Brushing.
Brushing Minnie. Would you make me one afterwards?
Yeah, it might be a while though.
Okay, I'm going to crack on with this. So, just finished the first story in Terminal Boredom. Again, in a similar way to Whatever Happened to Interracial Love, very sort of ahead of its time. So, I read at the back here that Izumi Suzuki actually took her own life at the age of 37 in 1986. All of these stories were written before 1986, with the actual title story, Terminal Boredom, being written just before she died. Now, she worked in a factory and as a bar hostess before finding fame as a model and actress. Now, this first story, as I said, ahead of its time, due to pollution, male children, male babies being born are extremely rare, and you don't see males out and about. They actually all live in somewhere called the gender exclusion zone, terminal occupancy zone, I think, or gender exclusion zone. They refer to it at different places, and this has been happening for such a long time that actually the people here, like involved in this story, the protagonist we're hearing from, they don't even know that men are required to have babies. Women go to hospital and get injected, I assume with sperm, and then have babies, and these babies are almost always girls. Women live with women, and in relationships, friendship and romantic, and everybody referred to is a woman. The word father is used by somebody in this book, and they've never heard that word before. They're saying far. Very, very interesting. And they go on a trip to one of these gender exclusion zones where the male people are kept, and they're all sort of like, oh, why is he there? And then during there, they're like, oh, I've heard that males, we need to take a secretion from males, and that's how people have, how we have more babies. I don't think they even refer to them as babies, but very, very interesting, and very, very, like I said, ahead of its time. So far, enjoyed both of these really, really, really well. So I'll move on to the final one, which is What She's Having, Stories of Women and Food. This is a collection, whereas these two are written by one author each. So all of the stories in here are by Izumi Suzuki, all the stories in here are by Kathleen Collins. This is a anthology, and the first one, so the foreword is by Abby and Bridie, who are the co-founders of Dear Damsel and the editors of What She's Having. The first book, so the actual essays themselves are split into separate sections, and the first section is In the Kitchen, Feeding Yourself, Finding Your Appetite. And the first story is actually non-fiction, and it says MFK and Me, and this is by Ansa Khan, and it's, let's have a look. It's about 17 pages long. So yeah, so I'm going to read the foreword and the first story. Do you still call it a story if it's non-fiction? I think we do. And there we go. The first story from What She's Having written. David's now here. He's watching Red Oaks. Is that what you're watching? And just drinking his tea nicely, so that's nice. It's nice when he watches things with his headphones in, because it means I can sit and read and he can watch things. It's nice. I enjoyed this. It was non-fiction, which took me a bit by surprise actually, because I was expecting it to be fiction, because I was expecting this to be all short stories. But I enjoyed it because it was talking about Ansa's sort of journey of discovery in terms of cooking, and I'm not talking about like big excessive bits of cooking. I'm talking about making a guacamole from scratch, and she never even considered. Minnie cannot stop me out. Minnie, stop it. Did you feed Minnie this morning? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, she's had her breakfast. I don't know why she's so upset. And making something from scratch and just being absolutely, completely mind blown by that. And I have sort of similar foodish memories in my mind, in terms of, she was saying that her parents weren't really big cooks, and the things they'd eat at home weren't sort of like big things. There was lots of sort of like microwave cooking and oven cooking, which was the way that it was when I was growing up as well. We used to eat a roast dinner every Sunday, which I never really liked, because it was always sort of like veg boiled and cooked to sort of, so it all tasted the same, with meat that I never really liked. Even before I became a vegetarian, I was never really a big meat eater anyway. Roast potatoes, which weren't crispy enough, guys. Now I make really good roast potatoes. I can't bear the thought of a non-crispy roast potato. But yeah, so her sort of like her journey of not really like cooking not being a big thing, and then going to university, living in Dijon for a year, meeting a friend who was really into cooking and things like that. And also, whilst this is happening, this is sort of she's comparing herself to a cook and their book called, what's it called? It's a really famous book. It's a really famous book that I've never read. The Gastronomical Me, MFK Fishers, which is why the essay is called MFK and Me. But yeah, enjoyed that as well. So there we go, 3 short story collections, of which I've read the short story, the first short story for all of them. And the good news is I really liked all of them. Now, that's good, because these are what I'm on my TBR for this month that David's picked. Especially good news for this, What She's Having, because I have put this in, I think this is going to be a 5-star read. That first essay was not a 5-star, but I would say it was like a 3.5, so good we can only, hopefully we'll only go up from here. These two were also really good, but I will say out of all of the stories, the first story that I've read in Terminal Boredom, Women and Women, that's the one that I've sort of been thinking about. I know I read it second, but like, I was thinking whilst I was reading this, ooh, that's very good. So I think I'm going to continue with this collection by Azumi Suzuki. Now, as I said, I will hopefully, well, I will get round to these in the month of August, so they will be read as well. But I'm going to start with this. Let me know if you've read any of these short story collections. Let me know your favourite short story collection. Always interested to hear. And I'll see you all again soon for another booktube video. Goodbye. Say bye, David.
Bye.